Hey yo, it's Deep Convos with Meg and Fran. Welcome back to our podcast. It is episode 21. It's an exciting one. We have a really deep topic today that we're just hoping to get into, kind of like a stoner conversation, except no one is high. That's kind of like what we're aiming for. That's the topic we chose today. We have two guests with us today, which is really exciting. We have Lauren and Sam. So they're going to introduce themselves in just a moment. Before we start, I just want to say I hope everyone had a great Halloween. I hope you got dressed up, ate lots of candy. You're never too old for that. And yeah, so with that, we can introduce our guests.
Well, oh my goodness.
Or not.
Okay, I'm going to edit this out, but we're supposed to introduce them.
Yeah. Okay, they're going to say a little bit about themselves. That's what
we have a sentence that we say and that about each of them, and then they come in.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my God! I asked you to read the Facebook message in the messenger. Okay.
Oh, I thought that. Oh, I thought that was like an FYI. I didn't know that was like. No. I thought that was like, oh, this is like good to know.
It's fine. We're just gonna start over. Let's just start over. Okay.
Wait, completely?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that you literally were talking for a minute.
Sure.
So let's just do it again. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just
take two.
It's fine. It's like a movie.
Wait, I should probably open up that Facebook thing, right? Hold up.
Well, I can do it if you want.
Yeah, why don't you just do it?
Okay. You okay? You okay, Meg?
Oh, I'm looking for that message.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's take. No, this is all good. This is great. This keeps us on our toes.
Okay, I got it.
I'm sweating.
I got the message. I can do it.
Oh, okay.
I'll just start. Okay.
Yeah,
hey, yo. Hey, yo. It's Deep Convos with Meg and Fran. Welcome back to our podcast. It is episode 21. And we've got a deep topic today that we're really excited to delve into. We have a couple guest speakers with us today, which is really great. And they are Lauren and Sam, my sister's friends. So Lauren is a multi-faceted artistic person who enjoys deep conversations, which is perfect because this is Deep Convo's podcast. She currently resides in Dobbs Ferry, New York. And her boyfriend, Sam, is a drummer, beat maker, and multidisciplinary musician living in Ithaca, New York. And so those are two guests for today. And they're going to join us in this random deep topic that we've chosen. But
hey guys,
hi.
Welcome to the show.
Yes, we are here. We made it.
We're here. You made it to our Zoom room.
Long commute.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Clicking the link. All right. So the topic that we're all gonna chat about today is the concept of attachment and desiring. And listeners, you might have heard about this. Like if you've even in passing, have heard like Zen Buddhists or like different practices of Buddhism talk about, suffering. That's one of the places they start is like, it starts with attachment and attaching happiness or importance or, solving all my problems on materials or ideas or relationships. And what we're interested in sort of unpacking today, I mean, it's not Buddhism because I don't really know anything about Buddhism, but the concept of like how that blocks us from manifesting our dreams and our goals and our best lives.
Our happiness.
Yeah, exactly. And like sort of like, oh my God, sorry. I am in New York City, and it's always you're just gonna always
they're from
hear.
New York, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean Lauren knows. You're always just gonna hear these sirens. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself. Meg, go talk about what definition of attachment.
So I wanted to talk about this today. So just as context, I'm not like, I don't subscribe to one religion, but I've always been the kind of person to kind of pull out what interests me from different religions. So like, I've found things that I like from Christianity, from Islam, from Buddhism. And I'm sure we've all heard that phrase, attachment equals suffering. And so that's always something that has like resonated in my mind. I've heard it everywhere, and it's like, okay, yeah, like that sounds really deep and profound. So I kind of just want to unpack that a little more, and how, like, what that means for you. And so I kind of just want to start with, okay, attachment equals suffering. Let's say you didn't know anything about Buddhism, like you hadn't researched or explored this at all. If you heard that phrase, what would that mean to you? And so just quick answer, attachment is suffering. What does that mean? Like, what would be the first thing that would come to your mind?
Well, the thing is, I have studied it. So
well, shit.
but if I think back to a while back, maybe like 5 years ago, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, attachment is suffering. I don't think I would understand it, because my understanding of the world, I wasn't aware of my attachment to things. I just thought that was the way that things were. And I never explored the concept of it on a deeper level. So I do know that I did suffer a lot, and it probably was from a lot of the attachment. But I think the lack of awareness prevented me from actually understanding that. So I think if I were to give an answer, I would say, I think I wouldn't understand, honestly.
Yeah. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, that kind of gets a bit into, I mean, I think attachment, I try to think of an example here. Even if you look at, if you're like attached to a certain outcome, let's say, for instance, we just had this election, and if you were attached to Biden winning, and let's say he did not win, that would be ultimate suffering for you, because you had this expectation. You were like, you wanted this thing to happen so bad, and then it didn't, and that's where the suffering comes in. So I think attachment can lead to suffering. I don't know if it is perpetually suffering, though. That would be my take on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I like how you said the word expectation. To me, like, that's the first example immediately that comes to my mind. And then Lauren, I'm with you. Like I told you, I've always heard that phrase, and like at a core level, I resonate with it. I'm like, yeah, man, but then I can't explain it. You know what I mean? So I like what Sam said about expectation. And like, if I was to define it in my own terms, it would be attachment to things that are tangible, but also intangible, right? So for example, the election outcomes, we can't touch that, right? That's intangible. That's something that hasn't happened yet. It's not in our realm of reality. But then you can also attach to, physical things, right? It's like whether your car or your apartment or like your boyfriend, right? Yeah. So over the years, that's how I've come to understand it. Fran, do you have any thoughts on that?
I was just listening to their answers, and what's interesting about, Sam's example is the other danger of attaching such huge importance to something like the election results too, is that, I mean, even now it's starting to happen. It's like the outcome you wanted happened, and now we're like preparing to be like, oh no, it's gonna end soon, so we can't enjoy it. Like so they're
joy. That's what they call it.
Wait, what is that?
Foreboding joy.
Yes. Wait, is that Brene Brown? I don't know where I've heard it. Brene Brown. Yeah, exactly. She talks a lot about that, and it's like, that's the dark side of it, is that even if you do get what you want, it's doesn't become enough. You start thinking about the future, which we're gonna touch on.
Yeah, there's always that, like, now I have this, but then the goalpost gets moved further away,
right?
And it's like, okay, but now I want this, and
right.
you get there, and it's like, oh, now there's a new goalpost, and now I want this.
Yeah.
So it just keeps going. So that's why this is really a good topic to think
sounds
about.
So relatable just on my day-to-day life. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
Yeah. So suffering could be like, if we were to define the suffering part of that phrase, it's like not being able to be in the present moment and really enjoy like the right now, because your mind is always elsewhere. your mind is always attached to like, oh, I want to bring this expectation to life, or I want to like get to like the next thing. So to me, that's why we suffer from attachment, these different kinds of attachment, because we're not really here. We're never here. We're just always elsewhere. So yeah. So cool. Yeah. So I wanted to start off with that because I feel like that concept comes from Buddhism. But what I wanted to explore more today is that I've found that concept arises in a lot of different things just through different languaging. You know what I mean? Because like there's other quotes out there in the self-help world, like expectations equals, I don't know, but it's like when Sam talked about expectations, I know that I read something about that. You know, like if you put a lot of expectation in something, you're going to disappoint yourself if it doesn't come true. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this concept of attachment manifests in different ways. And so, yeah, I guess we can move into examples.
Did you guys hear that?
What was it?
Did you guys hear that weird bell tone?
No.
Okay, okay, good.
Is that your break time?
Yeah.
Why don't you silence that, dude?
I thought I disabled it and it just wants me to take a break. Do
you want to take a break?
Yeah, I guess. Bye, guys. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I guess we can move into concrete examples of how that has unfolded in your life.
Can I actually, before we start the examples, like do a little addendum? You were saying like the sayings that, didn't you say something about there's like phrases that exist I'm thinking about the phrases in like Western culture specifically that sort of emphasize how huge attachment is in our culture. Like right now, what's hitting me is like the grass is always greener. And I think that's the other part of it. I mean, I guess we kind of touched on it already, but like the comparison part too, not just like the thinking about the future constantly and changing the goalposts, but also like that other person has the thing that I want and they look happy. And so if I get that thing, I will be happy or it'll solve my problems or insert whatever here. And the grass is always greener. We talked recently about like Tom Cruise's quote from, what's that movie where he says, "You complete me."
Oh yeah.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire, right. And it's like needing a soulmate to complete you, to be complete. You know, we have just so many things.
Like hinging your happiness on something.
Right.
Like your happiness depends on X, Y, and Z, whether that's tangible or intangible.
So it's interesting that in our language, it already like indicates like how we view material things and ideas and relationships, just a lot of importance on them, or otherwise like it's like an end all be all. It's like if you don't get them, oh no, like I'm gonna suffer so hard. Which I guess it's a good lead into examples because already those are two examples, is like relationships or material things. But let's dive into specific examples in your own life that you're willing to share.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any?
I do.
I have zero.
There's lots of things to say. Well, when you touch on social media, there is a fine line, I think, between attachment and addiction. So we have to sort of, that it can quickly, like, to me, social media is an addiction as well as an attachment for some people. And when you're comparing yourself to others, right, there's just something voyeuristic about it, right? We want to see what other people are doing. One of the reasons that I am no longer on Facebook or Instagram is because I found it to be toxic for me. But you can take this back to like even the 10 commandments, if you want to get into that, where one of the commandments is thou shalt not covet. I think it's thou shalt not covet thy husband or thy neighbor's wife is like the literal thing. But you could extrapolate on that and say you should not covet what other people have that you don't. You should just be happy with what you do have and show some gratitude. So as for concrete examples, though, man, I mean, I think the election was a really good example.
That was a really good one.
A boyfriend girlfriend situation where if there's a codependency there, right, then that is, and I've been in relationships like that, and it's just, that's not a healthy thing. You have to really kind of find your inner peace and your inner strength to, to just enjoy, like you said, be in the present moment and not just think like, I need this person, I want this person all the time. It's gonna, because then if you don't have that person at some point, it's like a little death for yourself, and you don't want to create that situation.
Right. So I mean, this could be too personal. You could say like, I don't want to talk about it, but could you think of like, what were you afraid of losing, I guess, if we're going to talk about like, letting go versus attaching, right? Like when you, in those codependent relationships, do you remember like, oh my God, if I don't have them, blank is going to happen?
For me, man, I have to go back. Probably with like, see, I guess in my situation, a lot of times it was my partner that was exhibiting the codependency with me. And I just knew I had to get out of that because I couldn't be responsible for that person being happy.
Right.
So it's kind of it's a tough one to be in, especially when you really like the person too, like they're a great person, but they rely too heavily on you to make things okay.
Right. That's such an interesting perspective. It's like, what if it's what if it's your partner who has attachment?
Yeah, it did not end well.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
It happens.
It does.
Process.
It does. Lauren, do you have anything coming to mind?
Yeah. So, I got so many thoughts. I was on the other side of it. I was the codependent one. It was like, Fran, I've talked to you about this before. I did not, when I was in this relationship, and it was for 3 years, it lasted for a while. Although I guess both of us were codependent. We both had this deep insecurity about ourselves. But the thing that really got me thinking that without this person, blank, the next thought would have been, I don't exist. Because I did not think of myself prior to that relationship as my own person. I did not realize that I was responsible for my own emotions. I did not realize that my life was my own and that I had to be accountable for myself, and that the person that I was with was just a person. And it was a very like meeting of the addiction, attachment things that you were talking about. And it was, I'm glad it happened though, because it was very heartbreaking, but it gave me that realization of being able to step back and be like, oh, there's more to this. I don't need this. Like, what is a need?
Yeah.
I didn't need that.
All you really need is food, water, and shelter. If you got that, you're doing pretty good.
And you need that. And I think you need to feel a sense of purpose in something.
Yeah. It's huge.
Well, actually, that's a good point to touch on. What do both of you think about like having a sense of purpose as being the remedy to feel, to the whole attachment thing? Like if you're really secure in what your purpose is in life, that is probably the best way to not become overly attached, I think, to anything. Because you're like, I know what my purpose is. I'm just going to keep doing this because I'm meant to do this. And, these other things, you know what I mean? Maybe we can touch on that.
That is an interesting point. I wonder if you could even apply this concept though to purpose, because I feel like there are Americans especially can attach so much importance to their purpose.
It can be applied to anything. And
it can actually.
When you mention purpose, I immediately think of like, especially with us being millennials, I think of just very ambitious, lofty goals, which is great, right?
Right.
It's great to be ambitious. It's great to like shoot for the top position in your career, to like climb the rungs of the ladder. But at the same time, that can become an attachment. It's like, oh, I'm only going to be happy and fulfilled in my career and, you know, have really like fulfilled my purpose if I am the CEO of this company, or like, you know, if I shatter this glass ceiling, or like if I, you know, and it doesn't have to be a professional goal. Like for me personally, like for me, that was travel. You know, like in my early 20s, I had always told myself like, like I really want to travel, but you know, I can't do it because I'm in school. And like, but I was like attached to this idea that this is what would make me happy. You know what I mean? So yeah, to me, it's like purpose can very quickly become toxic if you're kind of tipping into that, like, okay, well, I need this to feel that I'm worth something, that I'm like actually fulfilling my purpose, that I am truly happy. If that makes any sense.
I do think, which we're going to go into this, like we have like a section on, I don't have a better word for it than solution. I hate the word solutions, but we're going to go into that in that section more in depth. But I do think the key is not in purpose. Like it helps to have a purpose if the attachment is in a relationship with another person. It helps to have like your own purpose, to be like, oh, that person is my purpose, or like that person's not my purpose. My purpose is what I'm working on. But I think the key is like your relationship to both of those things. Like, how do you view that person? How do you view your goals? Like, they're not like, if something, like, I guess I can think specifically of my goal to be an actor, like someday. And I am not even anywhere near close. I don't even have an agent yet. Like my last manager I fired, didn't work out. And if I based my purpose on that goal, like my purpose is to be a working actor. And I'm not, like, especially with COVID happening, I'm not even close. Like I'm lucky I have a couple gigs, but it's not like, oh, I'm meeting in front of casting directors for these TV shows that I love, you know? Then it would easily become a depressing situation for me. But I think that I don't view it, for lack of a better term, like as an end all be all. Like, it's, I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought.
Not purpose, then maybe it's intention, right?
Yeah, that's a better word for it, I think. Intention,
I feel like there's layers to this. Like I feel like we're slowly digging through some layers. Meg, when you were talking about the career ideals, and you too, Fran, and like certain professional goals you have, or a goal to travel the world, I don't see purpose as necessarily being, I guess it's good to have goals that are aligned with your purpose. But for me, purpose is something that is much deeper than a destination. You know, it's about living, like
fulfillment, like a feeling of fulfillment and contentment. Just at your core, regardless of your external circumstances, it is just this feeling of content. Like for example, like my position now in my job, like the feeling that I have right now, and then if I ever become a CEO, which I don't want to become, the goal, right, is that the feeling inside of me, the contentment, the fulfillment will be the same. Meaning it didn't take becoming a CEO to get that feeling. It was inside me all along.
Right.
You know, I don't know what the word for that is, but that's how I see it. It's like this internal rooted core feeling of like just internal peace, regardless of what is around you.
Yeah, I think it's what Lauren was saying about not a goal, but what both of you were saying, like a rooting as opposed to like a destination. I think like I instead of I want to become an actor, saying I am an actor. For example, it's like, this is who I am. And I think that's why the word purpose is really tricky, because I have friends who are like, I'm so not happy, I'm so not content. And I ask them like, why? And they're like, because I don't have a purpose. Like, you have a purpose. And like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't have a purpose. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's a Western way of viewing the word purpose, but purpose feels like I need to have something that I'm I am. Like instead of like it's okay to be in a place of limbo. Like, why is that a bad thing to be in a place
To
of
feel worthy. That's the thing. We feel like we need
Yeah.
to have these titles or whatever, these things under our
Yeah.
belt. Oh, look at me. I traveled the world. Look at me. I like climbed the ranks of my
Right.
company. We need these
yeah.
things to feel like we are worthy. And I feel like that's the root of everything. We feel unworthy. And that is why we
Yeah.
attach to these things, because it gives us this feeling like, oh, okay, I do
Yeah.
matter. I do have value.
I do think labels are really huge, and I don't know if you guys agree, but labels and titles are so huge in the United States. I don't know. I feel like in other cultures, a little less important to be like, I gotta work my way up the ladder, like climb rung by rung, and get to some place, insert whatever. And I do think we attach a lot of worth to that, like self-worth.
It's a you get into like being human, right? And feeling unworthy because we know that we are flawed creatures and we know our shortcomings. So it's very it can become easy to just kind of think less of yourself. It's like, I know I'm gonna screw up at some point, right? And you have to just like sort of block that out and just be like, I don't care. If I mess up, whatever, because you got to keep going, right?
Oh, that's so that's another facet of this is that's why we're so hard on ourselves, because we don't ever want to enjoy part of the process is failing, and like we don't ever want to even be in that state. It's fascinating.
We feel like it diminishes our worth when in fact our worth is constant. It doesn't increase, it doesn't decrease. It's always the same ever since we were born. And I feel like just growing up in our kind of society, we have this idea that that's like, it's like the number is moving up and down when really it isn't.
To like prove yourself, like you're given a series of tests and you have to like live up to the society's level of expectation.
Right.
No, I agree with you. It's totally inherent.
Right. It's like there's like an invisible worth police, like tracking your every move. But it's like
who hashtag
hashtag worth police. Like who
worth police?
It's like we're always looking behind our shoulder, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna see that I'm failing. I gotta keep whatever doing this. That's so true. Meg, do you want to move on to your favorite? Meg's gonna talk about.
No, this was really cool, guys. I like. I feel like
this is really cool.
It's one of those things that's hard to define and hard to articulate, but we all resonate with it, I feel like, and especially with the examples that we gave. So I really appreciate that. But anyway, so another reason why I wanted to have this particular episode was I ran into this concept. And Lauren, I don't know, like with the studies that you've done, if you've heard of this, but it's called reality transurfing. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
I mean, in the notes that you sent ahead of time, I read that, but prior to this, well, give me some examples and maybe
so
saying it.
It's like so it's this concept that was actually originated by this Russian man, and so like he wrote this book. It was originally in Russian, and then it got popular in the Western world. It got translated and whatnot. But I heard about this, and it's essentially the idea that it's basically manifestation, and it's basically extrapolating on this whole discussion about like attachment equals suffering, because they also have a concept in transurfing where dropping importance, that's what they call it. It's important to drop importance on the things that we feel are important. It's kind of like a mindfuck in order to manifest optimally. And it's called reality transurfing because basically all these things that we want to be are on a different plane. So if you think of like, what is it, like physics? What is that term? Like the Einstein, interstellar. Yes.
Physics.
Quantum physics.
Is it? I don't know.
Yes. Quantum physics. So let's take Sam as an example. Okay. Sam, as we see him now, this is just one version of Sam. Okay. All the other possibilities that Sam could be, maybe in another, I don't know, dimension, Sam is actually a soccer player, or Sam has traveled the world, whatever. Yeah. So to us, because we're here in this one plane, that's impossible because we see Sam as he is now, right? But reality transurfing says everything is possible. It's just in a different plane, and it's up to us to access it. In fact, if you look at the room around you, like look at what's around you, like this table, this lamp. How did it get here? Where did it come from? It came from an idea, right? It came from someone's brain. Everything around us came from someone's brain, right? Everything around us was accessed from this plane of, I forgot what it's called. I don't know. It's a bunch of gobbledygook, but it resonated with me because I was like, holy shit, that's true. And we are the ones that are deciding whether things are impossible or not. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of the times why we don't manifest the shit we want to, because we automatically dismiss it. For me, you know, before I, you know, fulfilled my dream of travel, I told myself, oh, that's not for me. I don't have time for that. That's never going to happen. I don't have the money. And the moment that I start saying those things and that starts coming out of my mouth, I have completely disregarded it. And I've completely like taken it away from being possible because I've just dismissed it, you know? So in a nutshell, that's what it is. And I like transurfing. It's kind of like everything is possible to you. You're kind of just surfing through all the different versions of what could be. And it is completely in your power to access it, you know, because once you start tapping into, oh, you know what, I can travel. Yeah, like it's going to take a lot of hard work, but I can travel. Let me go ahead and research, you know, flight tickets, because once you change the way you think, your actions will follow, you know, because if I think that it's possible, that's when I will start researching those flight tickets. That's when I will start researching the countries I want to go to, you know?
Now you're getting into some like brain programming. And it's true. It's so true. We are what we do every day. Right. So, yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless. I was in a band for about 7 years, and there was a guitar player in that band. I couldn't stand him because he was always pointing out reasons that something could not work instead of thinking about reasons that they could, as the ultimate pessimist. And that just kills creativity, and it kills being able to really achieve anything. So the power of the mind is, yeah, you if you want to be, you know, if I wanted to be a soccer player, I'd have to start doing that pretty much every day and training and all of that. But if, you know, it is possible if I really like programmed myself. So I think maybe there's some examples that you could think of, like you mentioned the traveling, you know, if you really put your mind to it, you could do it.
Yeah, because like, as I said, the first step is the mind thing, right? Because all the actions that followed, like my, you know, researching flight tickets, like for me, I volunteered abroad, researching volunteer programs. I would not even, like, my body wouldn't have done those things if my mind hadn't tapped into that plane of like, you know what, it's not here yet, but it's possible. It's accessible to me. You know, what I see a lot of other people do, and me too, you know, is that they automatically dismiss that, you know, like, I don't know, like, I want to get healthy again. I want to go to the gym. Oh, I don't have time for it. You know, oh, look at this person. Like, I'm never going to get to their level. People talk like that all the time. And when you start to talk like that, your mind is automatically just shutting it off. And it becomes almost impossible for you to manifest that, because then your actions don't follow.
Right.
You know?
You're setting yourself up to fail because you're afraid that once you do get into a place where you feel that sense of worthiness or whatever you want to manifest, that maybe it could be taken away from you. At least that's how I feel sometimes.
Meg, I see that you put a quote here that says, I do not want, I do not hope, I intend. Is that a transurfing saying?
Yes, it is. So that is like I really like that. It sounds like a cult, but
no, it does. But also it's a very in line with what we've been talking about this whole time.
So, okay, sorry, I kind of like went a rabbit hole. Dropping importance is basically, like, I interpret it as along the same lines of attachment equals suffering, right? So in order to like fulfill these principles of transurfing and like, okay, everything is accessible to me, at the same time, you have to kind of balance that with dropping importance. And what that means is so again, like what I was saying earlier, these things that are tangible and intangible outcomes, whatever, I can't articulate myself. These things do not determine my happiness, right? We were talking about worth earlier. These things do not determine my worth. My worth is constant. My happiness can be constant if I choose so, right? My having like a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that doesn't determine my happiness. So that's essentially what dropping importance means. And the more that we can drop or lower importance levels in our lives, whatever it is, but still enjoy it, right? That doesn't mean like, oh, fuck my job, I'm going to leave. Like, I still love my job. I still treat it with respect, right? But at the same time, I'm not hinging everything on that job. That job does not define me. I am happy in my job today. And God forbid, if I lose that job tomorrow, I am still going to be the same. I am still 100% worthy. I am still 100%, in control, in power. So that's what that means. Like everything around us, like this physical plane that we are living in, oftentimes we humans put too much importance in it. And we feel that all these things determine our happiness. And what that does is our vibrations, so here's like another like woo-woo word, but our vibration levels just kind of get in like the wrong, it's just the wrong kind of vibration, right? So say for example, like I'm single and I'm looking for a guy and I'm just vibrating the wrong way. I'm placing too much importance in it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I see a guy at the bar, like, oh my gosh, like he's so cute. And I'm like, I just come across as desperate and I'm like clamoring all over him. Like, do you think that guy will want to like go out with me? No. And then here's another example. When I did find my ex, so like I was in a relationship for 5 years, I wasn't clamoring for anyone. I was just focused on myself. Right. So I don't know. I think that's a good example because it's very easy for us to imagine. You're placing a lot of importance in this guy, but then that results in your vibration kind of being in the wrong place.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Something interesting. You mentioned happiness and, oh man, that's such like, for me, maybe I've been told this a couple of times, like, oh, like you should be happy in your life. Right. And I think it's great, but I disagree with you should not be happy all the time.
Yeah.
Because then like, how do I say it? Really, you should be searching for being in a state of joy, which is different than happiness. If you can find joy in just, what do they say?
The little things.
Like what you don't do, what you like what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a common misconception. It's like, oh, I'm not happy, so like life sucks. But you have to find that joy. You just kind of have to find that state of being where, like you said, you're not wanting anything in particular. You're just glad to be where you are. And that's
it's tough.
It's tough. Hard. It take years and years to realize that. Like I've been cooking a lot more now that I moved up to Ithaca, and I love cooking. Like just cooking myself a steak I just find so much joy in doing that. And it might seem really simple and it is. But I think that's like, if you can enjoy doing like cooking and doing all that, then you're going to be doing that every, most days. And so you're doing a good job, I think.
I think like that's such a good point. Laura and I were talking about Brene Brown's recent podcast, like was it on election day or right before it even? Yeah.
We recorded it the night before.
The night before. And there was a quote in that where she said, well, I'm sure she didn't come up with it, or maybe she did. She said, there is no joy without gratitude, which like is what you were saying, Sam. It's we can't truly be joyful without being grateful of both the quote unquote good things and also the shadow side of things when it's not good. And I what really struck me, especially when Meg was going through the woo thing you were going to, what struck me with that what you were talking about is it seems like a contrast of like, oh, working towards a goal versus staying in the present moment. It seems to conflict, but it actually doesn't. And I feel like being in the present moment and being, I don't know, when we're talking about vibrations, like being in vibrational alignment with the, whatever you want to call it, higher power, universe, God, is actually a clearer path towards your goals versus kind of muscling your way towards it. And I can already think of a specific example, which like in acting, I have to thank my acting teacher for this, but a lot of actors, a lot of my friends are like, oh, fork. I didn't get that. We can curse in this podcast. What am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, dude? We're not small children.
Okay,
like.
okay, let's go. Oh fuck, I didn't get that role. And I was like, I got like through 2 rounds. Like I talked to the director and the producer, and then this other chick got it. And that was like my dream role. I'm never gonna get, like that's such a common, we beat ourselves up a lot. And my acting teacher was like, instead of viewing it that way, why don't you look at it as like that door had to close so that you're available to go into an open door elsewhere. And he got this like huge role in a musical on Broadway because he had said no to something else. Well, he hadn't said no, like it shut on him. He didn't get the role. And now he like had gotten this like long running stint on Broadway, which he wouldn't have gotten if he took that other gig that was smaller. It was still a big deal, but he was really bummed about it. And I think it's a matter of just trusting and like what Sam was saying, gratitude, as opposed to like, well, not trusting that it's going to happen if you believe in it, which is very hard. Like we're very mistrustful. We want to control a lot, even though I think, Meg, maybe you said this, but like the constant is that things are always going to change. I mean, that in and of itself is the constant. Yeah. And when we accept that is always going to happen, then it's a little easier. It's a little easier to trust.
And that goes back to not attaching. It's like full circle, like not placing expectations.
Yeah. Right. I did
because things can change. Yeah.
Well, and things are changing so much faster now than ever before. And I think that's what is kind of not a problem, but it definitely, like, we're still catching up. Our brains are like, what? This is like not the speed that we're used to things changing, especially with the technology, social media stuff. Like we're still trying to figure all that out.
Yeah.
Right. And we can't control that. We can't control.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
We're on for it. You got to go float downstream, right? You just have to like go with it.
Ride the wave.
Right. Exactly.
Ride the wave.
Yeah. And yeah, there's no turning back at this point.
Oh gosh.
This also really makes me think of, this thought keeps coming back to me through the past few minutes, the concepts of scarcity versus abundance. And like acknowledging that when you do desire something or want something, and it's, like when you were talking about the guy in a bar, like feeling like you need that outcome to happen, you need to talk to that person is going to give something to you. They may be able to give you something, and the fact that it's coming from a place of that want is, I feel like it makes it a little bit less fulfilling. But going back to gratitude, if you're approaching the changes through life with a sense of gratitude and fullness, I think it's easier to ride the waves versus if you're just like, oh, I'm gasping for air. I'm trying to get through this. But if you just kind of accept it, like acknowledge the feelings along the way and also accept it, I think it makes it a lot easier.
Do you trust the universe?
I do trust the universe.
Yeah, it's hard to.
It's hard.
Sometimes.
It's a battle every day. It's my ego and my true self, and it's I mean, my true both are always there, but the ego, I mean, that's how I identify those voices.
I have a question to pose. Anyone can answer this, but do you think that could you give an example of so the premise is that the universe is going to continue to try to teach you the same lesson until you learn it. So can you think of an example in your life where you kind of just kept, like, you saw signs that the universe was trying to teach you this lesson, and then it took you a couple tries, but you finally learned it? Like,
Yes, that is the story of my life. So I'm actually like a recovered alcoholic, and we have this saying in the rooms. What is it? Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity, right? Yeah. And a lot of us alcoholics are insane. And for me, like when I was drinking, that manifested a lot. The reason why I brought up that dude in a bar example is because like that was my life. I was just constantly getting in these, like, they're not even relationships, just like little things with all these like shitty guys that didn't do anything for me. And every time I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to do this again. Same with drinking too. But, you know, like what you just said, if I didn't learn my lesson, well, then I can't proceed. You know, I need to I need to learn it. And for me, I literally had to learn my lesson hundreds of times, you know? But yeah, like at the end of the day, I do believe the universe is looking out for us. You know, what happens to us is just our interpretation. We're the ones who label it as good or bad. Right. It's just happening, you know? In the end, it was good for me, right? But in the moment, in those hundreds of times that I was being insane, I was like, oh, fuck, this sucks. But I had to go through it. So, yeah.
That's I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff there.
Is that happening to you, Sam? Is that why you brought that up? Like, are you finding that there are little signs?
Oh, I mean, oh man, my life. Yeah, I've found. I mean, you know, I've produced a couple projects. One of them, most recently, I'm putting an animation together to try to help promote it, but it just seems like, okay, like I've been at this for quite a while now, and it's just not happening. It's not getting circulated. It's not being heard by a lot of people, which I think there's a lot of people that would enjoy it, but it just doesn't seem to be taking off. But I think the universe, for me, it's just like you've got to you have to stick with it and just follow your hunch. And if I keep thinking of life as like a symphony. So I think I'm in like the third movement right now of 4 movements. So if I'm in the third movement right now, that means, okay, like I do feel like these next couple of years, I think things will start to really pick up. But it's a slow process, so it's not always enjoyable.
Congrats on this project, and I'm curious to hear about it at the end of this talk. But
sure.
That's such a cool way to view it, as a symphony. I mean, it is sort of like a symphony is like a blueprint. Like you can view it as a symphony, or like as a map, or a fucking play. Like the universe has a plan for you, and so you don't really have, I mean, of course you're gonna have to do something, but you don't have to be like, I gotta like mastermind it, you know, I gotta fucking tweak and like kind of like a wrench, and I don't know how to use tools, but yeah, go ahead.
We're the ones who decide to make it hard. Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I think this is where free will meets like predetermination. Because if you know,
touchy topic that we might reopen in another podcast, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to dive in. I'm not going to deep dive into it, but I do think that the universe does want to teach you lessons and presents opportunities for you to learn those lessons. And there is a little bit that, I don't know, I still think about it a lot, but I do think that you have to activate your mind to recognize those opportunities. And there is a little bit of surrendering to the moment and riding the waves and going with the changes, and kind of stepping into your power and doing something different to get you the outcome that you desire. And I don't think it's easy.
No, it's not. Jen Sincero, who wrote "You Are a Badass," she calls that the big snooze. Like we're raised in this like the big snooze is like, you know, what you've grown up believing, or like what your friends and family have always told you. Like for me, it was like, oh, you're so like quiet and shy, and like you're so nice, and like I don't know, like small. Basically, it amounts to like you're so small and like, oh. And I just grew up believing that, and it's the big snooze because you're just like you're not in that energetic place that you're talking about, that place of power, because you're like, well, that must be the truth. But once, like, I mean, talking about signs, like every time, like there's constantly the universe telling me like that's not just that's one part of you, that's not your power, and it keeps pushing me in certain ways, many of them uncomfortable. And once you like feel yourself clicking into that, it's like, whoa, like there are lots of things that are possible. It's just such a different energy. So yeah, that's so true. But I just love I want to get a shirt that says the big snooze, because it's such a roadblock. Like every one of us.
Yeah.
I know, right? Merch. But it's such a roadblock. Like we just all just take at face value what we've always known, or people have always told us.
It's you get into such a really good topic there. It's like it's so hard to remain true to yourself in a world where everybody is telling you what you are and what you should be. Oh man, that is a battle, let me tell you.
Yeah, back to labels, back to boxes. Yeah, exactly.
Because it's easier to process things that way. So like you can't fault other people for doing that, but it puts you have to do a lot of work on yourself to be like, that person doesn't think I'm worth anything, but that doesn't mean I'm not worth anything.
Right.
That's that one person's meaningless opinion of what they think I am.
Right. That's, I mean, I get, now we're coming back. This is a good conclusion, but that's attachment. That it's like, we can choose not to attach importance or significance. Like when someone says, oh, you can't do that, you're too small, and you're like, that's your opinion, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's who I am. So I think that's such a good point. Does Meg, do you have a closing? I'm sure you have a button for this. A button for this
No,
conversation.
I'm just loving what everyone's saying. I think it's just really cool when we realize the power is ours. And a lot of the times we're just giving it away. We're just giving our power away, giving our fucks away, giving our energy away.
Giving our fucks away.
Just giving it out like confetti. Like, I think it's so cool when you just reach that realization, like, look, I'm in power here, but not to like, again, it's all about balance. Not like I'm being like, I'm controlling everything, but like you said, Fran, I'm not also being passive, sitting on my ass. Like, I want to travel, come to me. Like, it's not just going to come. I need to work for it. So realizing that power and, taking these concepts of manifestation and doing our part, but also going back to that quote that I said earlier, like, I do not want, I do not hope, I intend. Everything that I want in this life is mine. I'm not pining for it. I'm not wishing for it. It's mine already. And knowing that and saying that is just like this peace washes over you. But at the same time, it lights a fire under my ass. Like, okay, it's mine. Now let's get to work. Now let's go for it. So
yeah,
that's it. Like, I just think it's really powerful. And it's just like, we're
drop.
all fucking badasses. Yeah. Mic drop. Like, your life is here for the taking. And we're the ones who choose. Yeah. We're the ones always choosing to go after it.
Exactly.
Can I add a quick anecdote?
Do it.
When we were talking about the universe, sort of giving us signs and speaking to us and giving us those little pushes to ignite that fire and to be like, all right, let's go ride the wave. Over the summer, so I'm a vocalist, but sometimes I try to convince myself that like, it's not something that I'm meant to pursue, like actually pursue in a serious, committed way. Vocalist, musician. My sister's dog on the 4th of July, shooting off fireworks in the neighborhood, it gives her so much anxiety. the only thing that was offering her peace was we started playing music on the piano that we have in our house back in Chicago with my parents. And she was finding so much comfort and feeling the vibrations from the piano. And she knows that I sing. Keep in mind, this is a dog. She knows that I sing. She literally notioned me to go over to the piano and sit with her. And I started singing and I started playing. She jumped onto my lap, put her paws on the piano, and she started howling with me. And when I stopped, when I was going to go pack to actually move to Dobbs Ferry, she looked at me, and she had I honestly felt like God or the universe was like speaking through her, because she looked at me and she was like, this is your time. Like, I need you to bring this healing to me through music. And I've had so many moments like that, but that was like a big game changer for me this year.
That is such a huge sign.
Yeah. It's kind of like the universe is like,
wow. Oh
like-
my God. That's awesome that you got. That's such a clear sign.
yeah.
Wow. And animals can't bullshit. They don't bullshit.
Mhm.
They're not like humans who are like it's like that's such a, like you're supposed
Wait,
to
what are humans like? I didn't catch that.
like they're always like that's awesome, dude.
That's kind of a big thing, real quick, like to expand on that. We talked about being present, right? And being just like fully invested in whatever you happen to be doing at any moment in time. And animals are like, they don't have this concept of, well, I guess a little bit like squirrels, they get their nuts ready for the next season.
Right.
But it's not on the same level that humans are, like thinking so much about the future and the past.
Yeah.
For dogs especially, a dog will wait at the front door for 4 hours until you get home, right? Because they don't have that same concept of time that we do. And it's just like, I'm here. They could come back at any moment. And then an hour goes by. Oh, they forgot about that hour that they were waiting because, right? The whole concept of time is so different for animals.
Right.
It's fascinating to me.
No, I watch our cat, like when I need to be reminded that you need to stop worrying or dwelling on something I did embarrassing or whatever in the past. I just look at our cat and like how each second is like a second enjoyed. There's just no worry.
I think
like,
children and babies.
Yeah, kids.
Like the toddlers,
sure.
they fall down. They're not like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. They're like, whatever, dude. They fucking own that fall and they get back up and they fall again.
There's no like, oh, did I right. It's like there's no like, oh, did I accidentally hit this person? Or like did they do that? Like, no, there's nothing like that.
So we need to just rediscover our childhood.
Yes.
That is the answer.
Our inner animals.
We solved it.
We did. Oh my God. This is amazing.
We did it. No suffering.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not attached.
No, there will always be suffering, unfortunately.
Right, I know. But this is a step. This is like the first step for on the individual level. Like we have the agency to start doing this.
The unnecessary mental suffering.
Right, exactly. All right, guys. That was such a great
That was awesome
conversation. Like honestly, I feel
we weren't even high. That's the best part.
But
it was truly a stoner conversation.
We do not need to be high, although
No.
I might
No, you don't.
take an edible after, but thank you guys so much for this. Like I don't know what you guys feel right now, but like I feel like rejuvenated,
Activated.
Yeah. This will be a good time. So before you guys leave, Sam, you were talking about this project. Why don't you guys talk about anything you're working on right now and like where people can find you if they're interested?
Yeah. So after I've bounced around, I've taken music. I have taken music very seriously for a large majority of my life, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. But I realized after my most recent band experience that I needed to lighten up about music. I was so tired of taking it so seriously.
The importance.
You're right. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, fuck this. Like, I'm just gonna do silly shit. So I have a project called Cicada Madness, and it is about sorority girls, rednecks, frat bros, and there's another group of people involved, cowboys, I think. And they're all fighting for their lives against an infestation of giant flesh-eating cicadas. And that's the concept.
Oh my god.
And
That's
it's like
so
there's
funny
like
and cool.
7 episodes. They're all recorded, and you listen to it. It's like sort of a podcast format.
And there's music within
There's music. It's a whole thing. So that's fun. I'm doing that, Cicada Madness. And then within the next year, I'm going to be putting out I'm going to be putting out an album that I would, again, the attachment here, but it's really for me. I want to create the best album about farts that I can imagine. So
What?
That's in
because
process.
humans are not comfortable with their bodies.
I want
This
people
is
to
true.
feel like they can fart whenever they want to, and it's natural. And yeah, so I'm working on that. That's kind of the next
Oh,
future
dude.
project.
Okay. Really quick side note. Last night I was watching a show with my roommates and I really needed to fart, but I was also invested in the movie and I was like, oh, but I can't fart now because then they're going to judge me because of the loudness. I do loud farts, not smelly farts. And so that really fucking hits home, man. It's like, I wish I was comfortable being like, I'm just going to fart. Like it's a bodily function. Everyone does it.
Gotta own your farts.
Yeah.
Amen.
Another merch.
Another hashtag.
Oh,
there we go.
dude, you can start your merch line
Oh,
right now. It's like own your farts. That's a
I'd
thing.
buy that.
I'd buy that too.
Thank you for sharing that story. See, this is what the
Yeah.
intention is all about. Just like people are gonna hear this fart album and like, man, this is great.
And start
I
sharing their
honestly-
stories on Twitter.
I'm so curious once it comes out. Like I'm in.
Okay.
And the Cicada Madness, would that be on all streaming like podcast platforms like Spotify and iTunes and
Yeah, it's on Spotify. It's on Stitcher.
yeah, I have
Stitcher
Stitcher.
is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's on those two primarily, Stitcher or
Okay.
Spotify, one of those.
Okay. And you don't have social media, you just said.
Yeah, no
So-
Facebook, no Instagram. You
All
search
right.
for me on YouTube, Sam Fishman drums.
Fishman
You'll find some
drums.
stuff, but
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Lauren,
Lauren, what you
anything?
got?
Oh, what am I working on?
Yeah.
This year has been mostly a lot of just like honestly a lot of oh my god, I tried to combine the words meditation and manifestation. That's interesting.
Wait, can you say that combo again? What was it?
I was gonna say like manifestation. Well, no,
Meditation.
I don't know what I was about to say.
Man.
But it's a combination of those words. I have been doing a lot of meditation this year to kind of tap into some of the things that I want to be doing. But as of right now, I'm working on some of my own songs. I'm not planning on releasing them anytime soon, but maybe next year, maybe. I'm looking for voice students and Spanish students because I teach both.
Okay.
So
That's something.
spread the
Spread
word.
the word on, yeah.
Yeah, I'm always coming up with little funny projects. They don't really have to do with farts, but I do think that they're funny. I dance, I sing, I act. We had a painting night the other night. We did some oil pastels. But yeah, all about the art of just creating for the sake of creating for me right now. That's kind of what I'm doing.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Where if people are interested in taking voice lessons and Spanish lessons, you said was the other.
Yeah.
How can they reach you?
Well, I am on Facebook. Just Lauren Extrom. I'm also on Instagram at Lauren Alyssa 2. You can send me a DM. And if you send me a DM, I can give you my email address and then we can connect further there.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
That was so
Thank you
great.
so much for having us.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Part 2 needed for sure.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the fart album myself.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, yeah, I'll try to get a single out in the
Okay,
next
great.
few months.
Awesome. Right. Oh, we'll send you the. Oh, I'm gonna pause this now.
Hey, yo, it's us again. Welcome back to the podcast. We hope that you, we hope that you enjoyed that combo with Lauren and Sam. I certainly enjoyed it. I got a lot
Me
out of
too.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just nice to dive into kind of like, it seems really, what's the word, abstract on the surface, but then when you really break it down and relate it to your life and, put some actionable
action items.
action items
Actionable actions.
actionable actions. It's just really rewarding, and so I really enjoyed that convo, and we hope that you
We hope it
out of
helps.
it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we always end with a quote, and we have one here from Brené Brown. Okay.
Woot.
And so this quote is actually about vulnerability, but we feel that it relates to this topic because we were talking about being in the present moment and how when we attach to things and we have all these expectations, we're not in the present moment, right? But when you are in the present moment, you become vulnerable. You're willing to release that control. You're willing to put your trust in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really embodying that quote, I do not wish, I do not hope, I intend. And you're kind of just in that space. So this quote from Brené Brown, she says, "When we lose our tolerance for vulnerability, joy becomes foreboding." And I think that was what Lauren and Fran were talking about earlier, the foreboding joy.
Right. Like we can't ever sit in that joy because we're already thinking next steps. We're already thinking, well, what happens when it goes to shit?
Right. Like we're tainting the present moment for ourselves. And in essence, we're tainting life. The power is now by Eckhart Tolle. Like our life is now. All we ever have is now. And if your mind is elsewhere, if you're attaching whatever, you're basically ruining it for yourself.
Exactly.
You don't want that because remember, you have the power.
You have the power.
The
power. Have the power. Isn't that a song?
You've got the power.
Wait, is that the song?
No, it's you've got the power.
Oh, it's lower. Okay.
It's like really embarrassing.
Wow.
Anyway.
Okay. Speaking of foreboding joy.
All right. So
Biden Harris 2020.
Woohoo.
Yeah, we didn't even say that at all because that's foreboding joy. But yeah, no, really, it's okay to celebrate for, take a breather.
Really excited about that.
Me too.
Probably kind of like one of the only good things this year, I feel like.
Right. But also if we really think about it, even, the how the Black Lives Matter movement kind of blew up. It's like we all bonded together across groups to tackle this issue. So there are good things.
It's a tumultuous year, but a lot of blessings came out of it.
Exactly.
A lot of good things came out of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you want to find this on our socials, let's start with the individuals. Mine is meg.sales.14. My sister's is Fran Sales.
You forgot the at.
Oh, sorry, with the ats in the front. Sorry, I just made this more confusing. And then if you want to find the IG for a podcast, it is at deepconvospodcast. And if you
why'd you do it so that it was going to appear on your screen? You literally.
And if you want to email us your stories about attachment and whatnot, deepconvospodcast@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Wow. I mean,
that's hard to get through.
The only thing was the @ sign, but whatever.
Yeah, it's hard to remember all that stuff.
Anywho. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that. And looking forward to the next episode next week. Yay.
Okay, guys, stay safe, wear your masks, and remember, drop importance.
Exactly.
And own your farts.
Own your farts.
Bye. Bye.